So again, very good evening and welcome to the webinar. So in the interest of time, though we are expecting few more people to join, few more participants to come in, but in the interest of time, let us start. I mean, to admire or admire the timing of all of you, whoever have joined on time or before time. So the purpose of this event is to understand the genetic brain profiling, and we will see how it can help us to unveil our potential. But before getting there, let us understand what genetic brain profile is all about and how does it work. So it's very important that we understand the concept, understand the philosophy behind it before believing something, right? I mean, we should not believe something which somebody, whoever it might be it Amit Ganguly, be it whoever it might be, says, and okay, fine, he's XYZ have told, so I have believed it. Not like that. So to start with, we will understand a bit basics of our brain. Now, we all know that our brain is responsible for all our behavior, potential, and actions. We also know that our brain is divided into multiple different sections. One of those sections is cerebral cortex or gray matter. Now, there are five major sections in the cerebral cortex, which are mapped with each of our fingers. That is the most critical part of the entire discussion. What are those? Prefrontal lobe, which is responsible for the execution of any task or work, cognitive thinking, and personality. Now, I will immediately after that I will tell how or which lobe is mapped with which finger and how is it mapped, and all these things will come gradually. Then the second part is, or second section is the frontal lobe. Now, what is the work of this or what is the function of this? It is responsible for emotion, reasoning, planning or thinking, creativity, judgment, problem solving features. Third one is parietal lobe. Parietal lobe is responsible for senses, pressure, language function, pain and temperature control. The occipital lobe is the fourth one, which is responsible for vision and ability to recognize objects. And finally, the fifth one is temporal lobe, which is meant for hearing, memory, meaning, emotions, learning. Also, it is responsible for interpreting and processing of whatever we have heard. So, moving on. We have understood the various lobes of cerebral cortex. Now, let's understand how, or before that, uh, each of these sections, or the entire cerebral cortex to be precise, is divided into two hemispheres, or it has two hemispheres, left hemisphere and right hemisphere. Now let's see how the fingers have been mapped with this. So our thumb is mapped with our prefrontal lobe. Prefrontal lobe is approximately, this area. Then the index finger is mapped with our frontal lobe, this area. Middle finger, I should not show it, is with parietal lobe. The ring finger is for the temporal lobe, or connected with the temporal lobe, and the little finger is mapped with the occipital lobe. One more very interesting fact is the fingers of our right hand are actually mapped with the left hemisphere of our brain, and similarly left hand fingers are connected with the right hemisphere. So it works like this. Now, since we have understood the basics, now let's move on to what we can found from this genetic brain profiling. So through our fingerprint pattern, so how does it work actually? Okay, before going there, let me very quickly explain how does it work. So all these fingers that we have, from there, we know each of the fingers, we have some fingerprint or fingerprint pattern, whatever we call it. Now, how we work or how we manage is we scan. There is a device. We need to procure a device where we need to scan our fingerprint or fingers. Not only one single scan for one finger, we actually take 3 scans for each of the finger. So the left hand side, middle portion, and then the right side, that way. So that Basically from here till this portion, the entire portion gets captured. The fingerprint or mapping gets captured. Now once that happens, after that, this fingerprint captures or scans this information is fed into a system. Now system, based on the fingerprint pattern, we will come to those fingerprint pattern in a while. Based on those fingerprint pattern, it generates a report. Now let's move on to what all information we do see in our report. All right. So through this fingerprint pattern, we can understand our learning potential. Meaning, how do we prefer to learn? Say, for example, some people prefer to learn through reading. They love to read books, and by virtue of reading, they learn a lot of things. I mean, their main learning or input for learning is reading. Some people need to do writing also along with that. Only by reading, they don't, or they are unable to remember things for long term. So they need to write it down as well. Some people are very, I would say, not habituated, and prefer to do some experimental. Wherever there is an option to do some hands-on kind of thing, they learn those things very quickly. But if there is no hands-on, say for example, with all due respect, history as a subject. Now we really can't do any hands-on. I mean, we can't get Babar from those days and make him, get into the war again once again and be a spectator from somewhere and see how the war is being fought and all these things, right? So there is hardly any scope of doing any experimental kind of thing. Though today using multiple apps, there are a lot of audio, visual, or simulation effects have been created, which helps people to learn. Remember, those things also have been developed keeping our these abilities or these characteristics in mind. So net different learning style or learning preferences are there. We also come to know through this profiling how much support did we require or for a child that a child requires during the childhood. Now you might have observed some people learn by themselves. They really don't require much of support. I mean, if they know that this is my syllabus, this is what I need to cover in say a month, a year, 2 years, whatsoever the duration might be, they can plan and they can schedule their study time, this, that, and all these things and manage it pretty well. I mean, they in our corporate language we call it minimal supervision. Some of them have that habit. Some of them require very close supervision, meaning and as parent we need to really guide them or him or her and say, Baba, this time to this time you study this time to this time you do this. Are you really studying or this? How much have you covered? So all this constant monitoring is required. So that's what we can find out from this report. So whether we can study or learn by ourselves or our parents need to be behind us and encourage us to study. We also can find out the potential of a person has, the type of work in which he or she will excel. We can figure out the interaction style that individual will prefer and the personality of the person as well. I will cover all these aspects with example, with a sample report during this discussion. What else? Our fingerprints tell us for which subject we had a maximum interest and where we have the maximum potential. See, having interest is very good, very nice to have. But ultimately, to excel on certain subject or any certain areas, I need to have some potential also. I mean, I might have a lot of interest to go to Mars, Moon, or somewhere. But for that, whatever study is required, if I don't have the potential to learn those things or study and reach to that level, I really can't do much, right? Similarly, through this report, we can find out which education stream would be the best for that individual. For example, will it be engineering, medical, management, commerce, science, social science? Science means pure science, education, history, language, journalism. There are a lot of multiple options are there. So it shows. Again, we will see that as well. Um, Fingerprints also tell us our characteristic potential. For example, can we mingle with people easily or it is difficult for us? Very quick example. Suppose we have gone to a party, we are attending a party. Now you will found that some people can mingle, can go and meet with strangers as well who are present in the party, whom he or she had never met or never seen, kind of, and strike a conversation, start doing the discussion. Some of them, for some people, it is really difficult. I mean, those kind of second category people, you will found that standing in one corner of the meeting, might be with a class or without a class, whatsoever it might be, and kind of standing alone or standing or sitting with a set of people, bunch of people who are known to that individual. So that way. So that kind of information or that kind of potential or that kind of characteristic also we can find out from this report. Also, we can found, am I as an individual, am I a realistic person? Do I have an artistic qualities? Might be painting, might be singing, any of those. Am I a dominating person or am I an influencing in nature? Am I a goal oriented person or not? So to me, as an individual, if you want me to succeed, some people are there whom you need to give a goal. So and so date, so and so time, within 6 months, 1 year, whatsoever it might be. This is the goal. This is where you need to reach. Once these kind of people have that goal, they work very well. If there is no goal, they kind of they're lost. I mean, I don't know what to do. Kind of. Some people they don't need that. So this kind of information also we can find out. We can also find out the personality. Am I an integrative personality or an affective or cognitive kind of thing? Now, those who have children, this section is very important for you guys. So, how much support does your child, he or she, needs during the study? Now, this study also we were talking about this a while ago. So, the study also we can divide into broadly three sections: primary, secondary, and even during graduation or even PG, post graduation. What subject would be the best for her or him? What stream she or he should choose during graduation? And from my experience, I have seen not only in my case, but the other people for whom I have done the scanning or done this reporting, for them also I have seen this is practically 100% accurate. It comes out very accurately. Now, we shall know how much self confidence, efficiency, accuracy, and patience also the person has, along with other few other parameters as well. Uh, will and based on all this information, we can predict that what all mistake they may make in life and prepare them towards that. So it's a very common statement that we know all of us. Prevention is better than cure, right? So the objective here is if I know that this person, say for example for my son or daughter, this person behavior or behavioral pattern or characteristic pattern is like this. Because of this, there is a possibility that he or she might make XYZ kind of mistakes or certain situations. Now, if as a parent, if I know, and if my son or daughter is not very small, I mean maybe 10, 12 years old or little more, in that case himself or herself also, but definitely as parent, we will be able to guide him or her or groom him or her in such a way that they can avoid those mistakes. I'll give one more analogy. Assume you are driving a car. Now, assume that you have been told that you will have to drive the car blindfolded. Somebody have closed your eyes. Now, if I am driving the car blindfolded and I have been told that this road is through road, there is no other traffic, no human being, nothing, no animal, nothing, straight road. Fair enough. And they have put some system also which will tell that after 1 kilometer or 2 kilometers you need to stop. I will have to stop. Fair enough. Now there might be some potholes that we have not been told. where the potholes are. So in that case, what will happen if I drive blind? I don't know where the pothole is. So my vehicle will hit that pothole and it will create a major jerk. If I drive by keeping my eyes open, in that case, what advantage am I going to get? Very simple. What I am going to get or what I am going to achieve here is I can see the pothole coming, and if the pothole is really big and maybe covering the entire road and all, I will have the opportunity or liberty to slow my vehicle down so that the impact is minimal. Or if the pothole is not that big, if it is possible to move around or steer not by hitting the pothole, possible. So that's the basic objective. I mean, with this report for our child or guiding our child, it will be like opening the driving by keeping our eyes open, by seeing everything. Without that, it will be almost like driving blind. All right. So coming back now, uh, with all these things, we will see gradually that how the reports are, how the report looks like, how to interpret those report and those details. I will show some samples also. But before getting there, let me quickly show you the different types of fingerprints. So henceforth, what I will do is I will share my screen till the end of this session. Can anyone please unmute yourself and confirm whether you can see my screen or not? Is it visible? All right. Thank you. Are you? Should not be. So this, right now I'm showing a PowerPoint presentation. I mean, this with some fingerprint, this thing. Not visible? Okay, okay. Gotcha. Some problem is there. How about now? Is it super? Super. Great. Thank you. All right. Is it clear, answer? All right. Super. Thank you. So I was talking about that we have different, predominantly five different types of fingerprint, which we consider. There are one or two more which we don't really consider in most of the time, but for our basic understanding, overall understanding, this is good enough. So one is whirl or C type, which looks like this. The second one is double loop or D type, which looks like this. The third one is only loop, or sometimes we call it single loop, which in our report, which is represented as A, which looks like this. Arch is the fourth one, which is represented by R in our report, which looks like this. Now remember, for each of these types of fingerprint also, we have multiple different options or different type. 1 second, somebody is calling me. I don't know if any participant or not. Give me a minute, please. Hello. Yeah. Yeah, speaking. Okay. I'm right now in a webinar. Can you call me after an hour or so, please? I'm presenting actually. Sure, sure. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thanks. Bye. Yeah, sorry. So go back to here. So remember, all for each of these fingerprint type, we have multiple styles also. Most of these cases, I mean, which we call as 1, 2, 3. Say for example, A1, A2, A3, R1, R2, R3, D1, D2, D3, and so on and so forth. And the fifth type is reverse loop, which is represented as X in our report. So these are the 5 different types of fingerprints that we have. Now, now let's look at a report and understand what all we see there. This report that we get has around, or rather more than 22 different sections. Don't worry, we are not going to discuss of all 22 out there, I mean of there. Uh, but we will talk about some of the key areas which you should found interesting. So we'll start with the learning pattern, especially very critical for people who have children. And this report actually can be used for a child whose age is around 4 5 years till any age. I mean, not only children, an adult also till any age. Even if someone is 80 90 years also, still we can use this report. Of course, learning style will not be applicable for grown up adults. This particular area, I mean children, this will be applicable mostly for this section of the report will be applicable for mostly say people who are till the graduation. So what does it say? This child has multidisciplinary learning style. See, if you see here, curriculum is multidisciplinary learning. What does it mean? That it means that this person can learn more than one subject at a time. Also, if you move to the next section, this way, potential, primary and secondary. During primary and secondary education, the potential is low. Means he required a lot of help or guidance from their parents or from his parents to study. But during graduation, if you look at university, the potential has increased 37.86 compared to 32.14. It is pretty high. So it means that during graduation or further, his learning potential has increased, which says he can do much better during the graduation with very minimal support or minimal guidance. This report also shows that this child prefers to learn by listening first, then seeing, and finally doing experimental. Now, how does it found it out from here? This is the auditory. So listening has the highest potential or highest value, then visual, that is seeing, and then this is kinesthetic or kinesthetic is doing some hands-on or experimental and those kind of things. So predominantly the input style during the childhood or education, the input style predominantly is hearing. And this person prefer to learn more by listening. Moving on. Again, whatever report snippet I am using, this has been taken from one report so that the continuation is maintained. So this child require more affection during learning. So affective is 70% and cognitive is 30%. Trust me, in some of the cases, affective can be even 90%, 100% also. And some of the cases, again, cognitive can be very high as well. Now, what does it mean? Means for this particular case, this person, whenever he does or does some good result in the test or anything, any good thing, he'll have to get appreciated. So as parent, if we have this kind of person is, I mean, we are dealing is if our child is this kind of person, then we should show or give a lot of affection, praise that person, praise the child. Wow, wonderful! You have done a great job, good job. So that boosts that person's morale. Self-learning here also, if you look at the second part of the table, self-learning is very low compared to emulative learning. Means what? Again, this person require more guidance, support, guidance kind of thing. People who have self-learning much higher, there what happens? They become kind of self-sufficient, self-starter. Next table is a very interesting area. One more interesting part of this child is his long-term memory is low. Now, working memory is high. Now, what does it mean by this long-term memory and working memory? See, working memory is something which two ways it can be explained. One is when we go for shopping, grocery shopping, we make a list or we remember the list, go to the shop, pick up the things. So after we come back from the shop, do we really remember what all things we have picked up? Not really. So short-term memory is something which helps us in two ways. One is it decides what all information I need to remember and for how long. What all information I need to retain and for how long. That is point number one. Point number two is short term people who have, uh, or rather, we can move to the long term memory. So, people who have higher long term memory, they can remember a lot of things for longer time, as the name says. So, children are human people, whatever the age might be, whose long term memory is comparatively low. Then what happens is he or she has an uh, difficulty to remember things for very long time, until and unless his working memory says that yes, this is something which you need to remember. So if you translate into in terms of studying, especially during school, primary or secondary, what happens is if the subject is of his interest, the child's interest, in that case automatically he or she remembers it for very long time. But if the subject is not of his interest, say again, for example, if someone doesn't like any subject, let's take any subject, say geography. Let's not take the name of history again and again. So this time geography. So someone assume that person doesn't like geography. So in that case, his working memory will say that this I don't like, so I don't really remember it for long time. So what happens is that will not get stored for longer period. What will be the result? In our education system, in most of the cases, after 1 year, we need to appear for the test or examination. So, in those scenario, it will be difficult for this particular individual to remember whatever has been covered or taught or studied throughout the year till the annual examination kind of thing. So, for those kind of things, I request you to all kindly mute your microphone. I am getting some audio from somewhere. Thank you. So, I mean, in this particular case, what happens is uh, if someone's long-term memory is more and long-term memory is less, and the subject which we are talking about, that person doesn't like the subject and all these things, in that case, it is better to prepare a note, few page note, study that note, which covers more or less the entire syllabus, right? Suggestion paper, notes, whatever we call it, and study that, flip through those things before the examination, maybe previous night, previous evening, previous night, that day morning, depending on what time the test is. In that case, they can score reasonably well during the examination. Otherwise, there will be a problem. Moving on. Now, from primary or those areas, we are moving gradually to secondary part. Now, from higher secondary part, 10 plus 2. Now, if we looked at the subject preference for this particular individual during 10 plus 2, his potential. Now, what are the two areas here? Potential and interest. We are talking some time back about this. So, this is potential, this bar, and the blue bar is the interest. So, if you see where the potential is maximum, commerce, 39. Immediately after that is 38, maths. And then little low, 36, science, but pretty close by. Remaining are the difference is pretty. I mean, there is a good difference. 31, then 26, 22, and so on and so forth. So what happened? Ideally, in class 2 or during higher secondary, whatever we call it, ideally what all subject combination he or she should take? One is commerce, where we have the highest he has the highest potential. Then along with maths and science. Now that will be a weird combination, I understand. So I mean, now with the new education policy and all these things, it might be possible, I don't know. So not getting there, but normally as of now, whatever we see along with commerce and maths is still possible, many of cases, but commerce and science is little difficult. So what we can perhaps do is we maybe commerce and maths could be a good combination, or pure science, even pure science where maths will be there, that also could be a good combination. One more interesting part is the if you look at the interest. Now interest, commerce is highest, maths is equal, then immediately after that science. So Potential, the way the potential has increased or decreased, varies. The interest also varies in the same way. Now, sometimes it changes also. Sometimes you might see with some people that my potential somewhere is pretty low, but my interest level is very high. Now, in those cases, we need to really trade cautiously because the child would like to do something which is based on his or her interest. But if we know that a person's potential is not there, I am not saying that completely discourage him or her, but we need to look at other factors also. There are multiple other factors. Now, from higher secondary, let's move to the college, graduation. Now, the same person, right? Now, during college major or during college, what all subject he should have selected or he can take ideally. Now, remember what all potential we have got in higher secondary: commerce, then maths, and then science. Now, here also, if you see, business management has the maximum, and almost equal is commerce, or might be little more only for commerce. Then computer science is also more or less at the same level. Maths is little low, and engineering is little more low. So this individual during graduation can take any of these. Now, if we really do a deep dive, then you will found that these subject combinations are more or less based on the higher secondary subject potential also. So more or less it is, I would say, it's quite matching, not more or less, actually quite matching. Commerce is a straight match. Well, computer science is again maths and other logical reasoning is required. Engineering, some section of maths and this thing is required. Mathematics as a subject he can pick up. Business management is again a overall management kind of thing where some flavor of commerce and all these things are usually are being covered. All right. Now, uh, now you can see what all information we can get about the child from this report and how it can help a child and the parent to ensure that the child selects the right education track where he or she can do their best. Now let's see what all information we can find about the adults. Now for adults, obviously, the education is already over. So education information is just the information. For adult, what we need actually understand the career potential and also the behavioral factor which will help us or them to excel in their career and also at home. Now, do you know that we can use this report for find a good match during marriage also? Yes, it's true. And it has nothing to do with the horoscope, as you can see in the slide also. We will touch upon these things. Of course, we cannot cover it in details, but we will touch upon. For example, a very simple thing. If both the husband and wife are dominating in nature, right? In that case, there could be conflict issues and all these things. So there are certain factors, personality factors are there. So if we look at those factors and few other areas, we can kind of figure out that yes, this would be a good match. And honestly, interesting part is when I did the profiling for families, I mean, of course, I will not disclose their names, but I have found that the family is a peaceful family where husband and wife has a very uh, good peaceful coexistence or peaceful relationship kind of thing. There, these kind of parameter matches. In couple of cases, I have found that the husband and wife are, I mean, quite, I would say, quite a fighting couple, right? Uh, one person is India, the other person is Pakistan, something like that. And in those cases, I found that these parameters are conflicting parameter. All right. Now, adult part. Let's start with the adult learning domain. Now, as we know that we continue our learning for be it in formal way or informal way throughout our life. So, this particular person about whose report we are talking about will use introspection. His introspective learning is the highest, then analytic, then interactive, if you see. So, introspective learning, how does it help? Whenever a situation comes, or whenever this person needs to know something, he first do a deep dive within himself, do some kind of introspection. He try to find out a solution of his own. This is the problem statement. This is what I need to know. I will find out as an individual. I will find out how to get the information, how to do all these things. If this person perhaps will do a lot of googling, go to Google, search this, that, and all these things. Go to YouTube and find out videos and try to learn of his own. So introspection. Then not only introspection, this person will not be only happy with the introspection part. Then he will do the analytics also. He will try to get some data point. Once he got the path, got the solution, if we talk about the problem statement, he will get into the data point and try to figure out, is my introspection, is my solution, what I have found, makes sense. And finally, if required, then only get into the interaction mode, interactive, and ask people or discuss with people and all these things. Now, we're talking about the career part also, right? Now let's see the same person. What the career person should select in future. Remember, based on his interest potential in college, should have done business management, commerce, computer science, engineering, or even maths also. Now let's come to the job selection part, where we have maximum. See, accounts or quality audit has the maximum potential. Then after that, technical services, practically same. Then few of them are almost the same, equal, little less than these two, but almost equal and not too less. So he can be a good or he can work pretty well in purchase or finance division, pretty good in as a project leader. Even he has a very good ability or potential to become a mentor or trainer as well. Now, is if this person picks up a role in, say, for example, human resource, it there is a high possibility that this might be a disaster in his career. Now, if he doesn't know or his parent doesn't know about this potential, depending on the job availability and all these things, this person during MBA or BBA, MBA management, if he had done management, in that case he might have selected human resource as a major and then land up in the human resource job and might screw up his career. Now, why? We'll come there. We'll come to that part as well. Let's see here. Why not human resource? I mean, there are other factors also, of course. I'm not saying that only because of this. Now, the personality of the person. When we are talking about non-living things, left brain, which is driven or managed by left brain, his thinking style is cognitive, quite adamant in nature. But the execution style is affective. What does it mean? It means that whenever he is taking a decision for keeping a situation in mind, he doesn't mind to take a tough decision. And while thinking, he doesn't think about how will it be perceived by people, how will it be taken by people. So it might be a very, very, very harsh decision as well. But when it comes to the execution, interesting part is execution, he becomes affective. Affective means what? He has some affection. He shows affection to people. He start thinking, oh no, if I, how do I tell this to people? What do they feel? They will feel bad here. No, let me not say it this way. Let me either sugarcoat it or maybe if possible, can we change a bit decision? Can I change it? Let me not so harsh to the person. So all these things comes into the mind, right? So that way he will change the decision if possible, wherever possible. So ultimately at the end of the day, he will try to convince people about his decision, the way he will be presenting, right? When it comes to the living people on the right brain part, so that is people are dealing with emotions or animals, pets, or anything, any living object. You will prefer to take everyone together. See here, integrative is more. Integrative means they prefer to take everyone together. And critical is pretty low. Thinking critical is there 15% but low. So his execution style we will give higher preference because uh, it's he. I mean, though he can think critically, he can think from different perspective and very. I would say, depending on certain situation, he can be really, really, really have an ability of doing a critical thinking. But again, when it comes to the execution part, he becomes integrative. He uh, loves to take people along with him. Next, this person is growing in his career. So he reached to a team lead or a manager position, right? Where there are people who are reporting to him and he needs to get the work done by those people, his team members. So what is his first preference? Now here also there's strength and adaptiveness. Two things are there. Where the maximum strength is there, one is compliance. Sorry. Yeah. The maximum strength is compliance. But compliance adaptiveness is low. Immediately after compliance, it is influence and then it is dominance. So what happens is he first prefers to go with the process. He will say, this is the process laid. So we will follow this. Now, if the process is something which is not really conducive to convince people, he will try to use his influence, charismatic personality, or that kind of thing to, or leading from the front kind of thing. Okay, look, I am also doing like this. So let's all, or everybody do it together kind of thing and influence people. Now, if that also doesn't work, if people are kind of taking a ride kind of thing on him, in that case, since 59 and 57 is the dominance, and dominance adaptiveness is very high, he doesn't mind to move to the dominant part, become a dominating person. Also, career preference focus is goal and performance. We are talking about goal oriented person earlier, right? So this person is a goal oriented person. You give him a target, give him a goal, he will do everything possible thing to achieve that. Task and technology is again is pretty high, which means he prefer to do something with where some tinge of technology is available, not a completely pen and paper old days desk job kind of thing. He would prefer to do some technical thing. But later part we will see he is not a pure technical hand also. I mean he doesn't love to or should not love to do coding and all these things or technical architecture kind of things. This is not going to be his cup of tea. Now we are coming to the behavioral part again. We are talking about this. Now here the ideal range is zero point 0.9 to 1.1. Now look at here. Sensitivity is 1.68. Very, very, very high. Means this person is very sensitive, highly sensitive. If you tell something against either himself or someone whom he cares, he loves, and who matters for him, there's a high possibility he will not take it sportingly, he will not take it positively, he might get furious. So very, very, very sensitive. He will get hurt. Next is self-confidence. Again, very high self-confidence. Self-motivation is also pretty high. Rest all are more or less, I mean, those who are on the higher side I am talking about, more or less within the range or little above the range or little below the range kind of thing. But if you look at persistence, is very low, lowest, zero point 0.6. Then thoughtfulness, 0.67. Then patience, zero point 0.7. What does it mean? This person has a high possibility that if some task he is doing, some work he is doing, he will start with full josh and confidence and enthusiasm and motivation and all these things. But if it doesn't work out within a short period of time, he will lose interest. He will lose steam because persistence is very low. Nahi ho raha hai. It's not working. Leave it, kind of thing. Then, before getting into the execution mode, thinking and execution, he will not think much. 0.67. He will not think much. Straight jump into the execution mode. And patience is also pretty less. So with all these things, the problem is there is a possibility that he might take a wrong decision, based on the less thinking. He might reach to a wrong decision and jump into the execution mode, which is not correct, and repent or regret at later point of time. So if you found that for your son or daughter this kind of traits are there, what we can do is we can coach and mentor that person, that individual, that this is what is a possibility to come. And one more thing is adaptiveness. We need to look at this adaptiveness quotient or percentage. This adaptiveness is pretty healthy. 40 to 60% is the range, ideal. So good adaptiveness, it means that person, if you coach, mentor and tell and educate, this person can overcome these areas and these problem areas. Because of the low and high huge mismatch, he can overcome these problem areas. So the first part is that, like that only. Now career, before career progress index, what kind of job he should do? Should he do a job or a business? Well, definitely ideally job. Business, small business is fine, but not a big enterprise, setting up the big enterprise, because to set up a big enterprise, ideally the employer percentage should be 60% or above. Now, executive is 60% and above means he can grow up to the pretty senior position in the organization. He is not a person who will stick to the very, I would say, career track wise or designation wise, lower career track or lower designation. His career progress index is fast. What does it mean? This means that he would prefer to do different jobs. Now, if he doesn't get, for example, when he is doing something in a service and a job, if he doesn't get an opportunity to do a role change kind of thing, there is a high possibility he will get bored. If he doesn't get quick promotion, problem. He will feel uneasy, restless. And because of all these things, either his performance will dip or he will leave the organization and start searching for a different organization. But if some organization provide, now this is why it important for, even, we keep on telling that this information is very handy or should be very handy for the HR also in the organization. Assume with the HR department, they have this profile for every employee. So this could be a good information to mentor the employees, not only mentor, to know the potential of the employee and give the appropriate task the way, uh, not he wants or she wants, where the potential is maximum. Allocate the task, allocate the job rotation, job scheduling, and all these things is possible, so that the person, you don't lose the talent, right, by the end of the day. This part, development, is 35.61. It means that this is not a people development. This is more of this organizational development, process development. Remember, his process is very high. Process centric, or this compliance strength was very high. So process development, organizational development, this kind of job, or the management is next high. So again, general management, overall operations management kind of thing, he would be good, that kind of role. Pure technical skill, not that good. See, 31.77, 32. Not too bad also, but not that great. This is the lowest. Hardcore technical job. Now we are talking about the personality index or personality type indicator. This person is introvert. Input style, interestingly, is intuitive, or intuition and sensing. Both are very close, but still intuition is on the higher side. So it means that as an input, he kind of uses gut feeling many of times. Somehow I feel that this is the correct thing to do. Thinking, is a pure left brain person. His thinking is very high. This thinking means I am not talking about a thinking ability, right? Thinking high means when taking the decision, he can put lot of thinking. Can put, remember, Again, the adaptability and all these things comes into the picture. Based on the thinking, based on the left brain kind of thing, not the feeling. I feel for this person, that's why I am taking the decision. No, I think this is right, that's why I am taking the decision. Something like this. Lifestyle is perceptive. Sorry, judgmental. Almost 53%. Lifestyle is judgmental. So he kind of in the lifestyle, in the people are for the people around him, he is little dominating, tend to be dominating. Again, when talks about the family, people and family on the execution part, integrative, and task and work affective. This we have seen earlier. So when talking about the family, he tries to do something in a way where everybody he takes loves to take along everyone, right? Task and work also, he makes sure that everyone is praised. People who are doing the good work, yes, very good job. So that kind of person. So we're talking about the marriage part. So when he will be getting married, he should get married to someone who have higher value in the harmony index. Oh, sorry, I forgot to tell about harmony index, 75 almost, which is pretty decent. So someone who has higher value in the harmony index, lifestyle should be perceptive or effective. Execution for the family should be integrative or effective. Cognitive may create conflict. I mean, conflict in that sense, the spouse will be in that case dominating. So now, if the other person has judgmental out here, then definitely there will be conflict. But if the not judgmental, if the other person is perceptive, more perceptive in this, and the spouse here is instead of integrative is cognitive, still manageable. Not ideal, but manageable. All right, we are almost at the end. So what we always suggest is, along with the children, the parents also should have done the profiling or should do profiling. Why? Because of three reasons. As parent, once we see our own report, see this is a new concept. I mean, very honestly, hardly people know about it. So once I see my own report, and once I see that it is matching very closely to the reality, in that case I will be convinced about the report, and of course it will be much more easier for me to take the decision for the child which is based on the report. Even if we think individual as an individual, not sure, not that convinced kind of thing. I mean, if I am not convinced, I cannot take the decision for our child. If we found the child's curriculum is focused learning, for example, or any type of learning, we can understand from whom, mother or father, from whom it has been inherited, or any of the style, basically, any of the behavior, any of the trait we can see. We can find a very clearly see the inheritance also. Either father or mother definitely will have that kind of quality or that kind of trait. Using this information, we can also determine our own behavior and ensure that at home or workplace we behave accordingly so that the harmony and peace are also there. All right. So now I will stop sharing. I will speak this very quickly now. And in the meantime, I will paste a feedback link also in the chat, text chat window. Uh, so, I mean, see the net, the point is what we should understand, or what have you understand so far? Are you do you still feel that we should do something which kind of makes sense with this, or are you does the whole thing making sense first of all? And if yes, in that case, I mean, if you are in Bangalore, in that case, I mean, you can directly contact with me. You can drop me an email or message or whatever, call, anything is fine. And if you are not in Bangalore, then also there is no problem. Uh, I mean, in most of the location, some or other of our family members are there who can help you to get your profiling done or help you to get the things done. Time for question. Who will take the lead? We have two cardinal sirs, so anyone can you can take the lead or lead or anyone whoever wants. Uh, Sorry, sir, Colonel Dilip, I can't hear you. Still not. No. Ha ha ha. Yes. Now okay. I could hear Colonel Provid now. Okay, sir. Colonel Dilip, you may chat. Type in the chat window. There might be some audio issue. Anyone else? Any other question? Yes, absolutely. I mean, Mr. Narayan Kumar Rath is. I agree. Fully agree. Uh, this is a completely new concept, and hardly people know about it. Yes, it's true. And for anyone, trust me, this will be very, very useful. Anyone. Yes, sir. Right. This thing actually, this particular thing is not very new. Not very new in that sense. I mean, if we search in the YouTube or other places or even the Google, there are good number of different videos and different articles are there. Uh, See, I mean, but you are correctly said. I mean, absolutely correct. So far, what we as common people we know, fingerprint analysis means criminology to find out whether this person is thief, murderer, or all these things. We can, I mean, we know about that. But other than that, from the fingerprint, so many things we come to know about the characteristic, behavioral pattern, and all these things. This is absolutely new. Agreed. But there, right. Uh, Field of study, really, honestly, I don't know. I need to figure that out. Let me find out and I will come back to you, sir. From where it has come, honestly. I mean, what is the field of study or how it is known as kind of. Correct, correct. Absolutely. No, no, absolutely, absolutely. Absolutely. Absolutely, sir. No, no, that's a very valid question. I mean, definitely we should know that. How does or who had thought about I mean this completely new concept, or I would say maybe it's strange concept or whatever we call it. Absolutely, absolutely. I can see Colonel Dilip's text. Yeah, right, right, right. So I mean to all of you, not only both of you, to all of you, I will come back. Let me find out who has found this concept or from whose brain this idea or this concept came actually. Exactly, exactly, correct. Absolutely. Correct, correct, correct. Absolutely. Definitely. 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 Any other question? All right, thank you. So again, request you to kindly provide the feedback, number one, and number two, whoever wants, whoever are from Bangalore, non-Bangalore, anyone, whoever wants to get this thing done for you, your family, I mean, not only you, ideally for your family, or even anyone per se, do let me know. Bangalore myself, I can assist you, help you. For non-Bangalore people, as I was mentioning, that definitely will have some or other family member. We call this group as a family also, Midna family. So we will definitely have some or other family member in the location, hopefully. So in that case, we will pass on the information to that. All right. Thank you very much. Thanks for your time. And it was nice interacting with you. Thank you very much. Thank you. Bye bye. Thank you. Thank you, sir. Thank you. Bye bye. Have a good evening.